Good. All right. Good evening, everybody. Let's call the December 27th meeting of the Westfield City Council to order. We'll stand and do our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Joy Edwards, say your words.
Heavenly Father, we ask that you give us your guidance, give us your wisdom, give us your patience as we approach some of the problems that we have to approach. All these things we ask in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen. We're going to try to have a quick meeting tonight, holiday meeting. So with that said, Bev Rawlings, would you please call the roll and note the presence of a quorum?
Bill Edwards,
Here.
Scott Willis,
Here.
Cindy Colberry,
Here.
Jake Gilbert,
Here.
Mike Johns,
Here.
Scott Fry, and Troy Patton.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. This evening, there are no changes that I know to the agenda. It will be as presented. First item on tonight's agenda then will be approval of the minutes from the December 13th council meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So move.
Second. Motion made by Joe Edwards, seconded by Jake Gilbert. Bev, would you please call the roll?
Troy Patton,
Yes.
Mike Johns,
Yes.
Jake Gilbert,
Yes.
Cindy Colberry,
Yes.
Scott Willis,
Yes.
and Joe Edwards.
Yes.
Motion made,
6-0. Thank you. Okay.
What is that just for a while?
The next item on the agenda is the approval of the claims docket for December 27th, 2021. Counselors, do you have any questions regarding the claims docket this evening?
I did, but I think you answered those. These claims are the claims that are a part of that agreement that we had prior. Am I correct about that?
Yes, the Taft claims that are on here are all from the,
These are not additional
no,
monies.
these are not additional claims. These have all been approved through the appropriation that we had before.
And
So-
there was one other claim to Webster, and Webster and Garano, and it had in there mayor's third lawsuit, and I assume that's part of the same blanket?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Cindy told me
All
to
right.
try my
Yes. Okay. Can I have a motion then to approve the claims docket for December 27th?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion made by Scott Willis, seconded by Joe Edwards. Bev, would you call the roll, please?
Jake Gilbert,
Yes.
Cindy Spoljarek,
Yes.
Scott Willis,
Yes.
Mike Johns,
Yes?
Troy Patton,
Yes.
Joe Edwards.
Yes.
Motion approved, 6-0.
Moving on then to old business. The first item under old business, Resolution 21-133, confirmatory resolution of the City of Westfield, Indiana, confirming declaration of a certain area within the city an economic revitalization area. This resolution had a council introduction on September 27th. It is scheduled for a public hearing this evening. But before we open the public hearing, Kai Chuck, can you explain this resolution to us again?
Evening, councilors. For the record, Kai Chuck, Economic Development Department. This is the public hearing and confirmatory resolution for the economic revitalization area for the Ortho Indy project, which is approximately 6 acres located at 250 East 171st Street. This property will be the potential home of a 15,280,000 square foot facility, estimated value about $12.4 million. Jim Ake, the site consultant for the project, is in attendance. He does not plan to make a presentation. Both he and I are present to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Kai. All right, at 7:05, I'm opening the public hearing. Let's give it about 30, 45 seconds. Chris, we don't have any cards, do we? Any call-ins?
No cards,
Okay, thank you.
and no emails have been forwarded to me.
Okay, at 7:06, I'll close the public hearing. Counselors, do we have any questions or comments regarding Resolution 21-133? Hearing none, do I have a motion regarding?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 21-133.
Do I have a second? Motion made by Scott Willis, seconded by Troy Patton. Bev, would you call the roll, please?
Scott Willis,
Yes.
Joe Edwards.
Yes.
Jake Gilbert,
Yes.
Troy Patton,
Yes.
Mike Johns,
Yes.
Cindy Spillier.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Our next item is ordinance 21-57, amending the Westfield Fire Department Fire Prevention Ordinance. This ordinance had a council introduction on December 13th. It is up for adoption consideration this evening. Chief Gaylor, are you here too? Chief Gaylor, can you kind of explain the ordinance one more time to us?
Yes, Rob Gaylor, Westfield Fire Department. So in 2019, the city adopted a fire ordinance to repeal and replace the one from the late 80s. And through that process, we approve it at the local, send it to the state, and the state has to approve the ordinance. Well, the state didn't approve the ordinance that we submitted to them in 2019, so we worked with the state to get their approval on the fire ordinance, and then brought it back and presented that to you, and that's the ordinance that's in front of you today. In the process, we actually found some flaws in the way the state was doing it, and they're actually changing how they're doing it now. So with a little help from us, now you submit it to them, then they approve it, and then we bring it in front of the local government to finally approve the process. So that's kind of the shortened version of the reason for this ordinance being in front of you again since you passed it in 2019.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Counselors, do you have any comments, questions for the chief? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve ordinance 2157?
Motion to approve ordinance 2157, amending the Westfield Fire Department Fire Prevention.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Jake Gilbert, seconded by Joe Edwards. Bev, would you please call the roll?
Mike Johns,
Yes.
Jake Gilbert,
Yes.
Troy Patton,
Yes.
Cindy Spillier,
Yes.
Joe Edwards.
Yes.
Scott Willis.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you, Chief. Our next item is ordinance 21-58, 2021 transferring of funds. This ordinance had a council introduction on December 13th. It's up for adoption consideration this evening. As I understand it, this ordinance is one that we have every year at this time. It's the ordinance that gives the clerk the authority to transfer funds from one city fund to another, basically in order to clean up and balance the books at the end of the year. Is that correct, Bev?
That is correct.
Okay. Councilors, are there any questions regarding this ordinance? Can I have a motion then on this ordinance, please?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 21-58, 2021, transferring the funds.
Second.
Motion made by Scott Willis, seconded by Joe Edwards. Bev, would you call the roll, please?
Joe Edwards,
Yes.
Scott Willis,
Yes.
Cindy Spalgeric,
Yes.
Jake Gilbert,
Yes.
Troy Patton,
Yes.
Mike Johns.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Great. The next item, ordinance 21-62, 2022 fee schedules. This ordinance had a council introduction again on December 13th. It is up for adoption consideration this evening. And John Rogers, can you explain this to us?
What you have in front of you is the 2022 fee schedule for each department. This is updated and current for the 2022 year only. We will reevaluate it and come back in 2020 for the 2023. So this is an annual process for us.
John, are the fees pretty much in line with adjoining communities?
Joe, that would be department director by department director. I think they work to do that, and I know that some of them are reevaluating those fees again next year.
One thing I'll ask is, this just for my own preference here, whenever I look at these, it'd be helpful to understand what the current year's fees are, so that we could see if something's going up in cost.
Okay.
So I would just ask maybe in next year, moving forward, if we could have a side-by-side comparison, that would
Sure.
be beneficial.
Just a one-year history, or would you like something a little more in-depth? 1 year's fine?
1 year would be perfect.
Okay.
This is Cindy Spalgeric. I was wanting to say that I had spoken with Kevin Todd about some community development, different amounts that are in his fee schedule. And I do think that there needs to be a kind of a wholesale reevaluation study, if you will, and maybe we can get some of the numbers from AIM to see where we are in line, but also to understand our real costs at the city for providing these services. So I'm looking forward to having something probably comprehensively looked at throughout this year for 2023.
And John, I would agree with Cindy too, and I think with everyone else at the council table. If possible, I think we'd like to see some work done on this during the summer of 2022, so that we understand, we really have gone through and updated everything. The council understand what all the fees are, and we've really done a due diligence, if you will. I think there's a little uneasiness with respect to, we've kind of passed these fees the last couple of years.
To be
Not
clear.
at random, but without a real in-depth study. So if you could put that on your bucket list of things to do, that would be.
To be clear, all fees.
Yes, all fees. In addition to Kevin Todd's, I know Cindy was speaking specifically.
That's
about
where,
it.
yep. So I just want to make sure I was clear on
Yeah,
that.
that would go a long way, I think, toward improving everything.
And this is Manny, everybody. Sorry, I'm traveling, couldn't be there in person. I can get with AIM. We're a strategic partner, and to the extent they have any of that information, I'd be glad to mine it and and provide it to everybody.
That would be much appreciated. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That's it. Can I have a motion on ordinance 2162, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made to approve 2162, 2022 fee schedules by Jake Gilbert, seconded by Joe Edwards. Bev, would you call the roll, please?
Mike Johns,
Yes.
Cindy Spaljeric,
Yes.
Joe Edwards,
Yes.
Scott Willis,
Yes.
Jake Gilbert,
Yes.
Troy Patton.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the Ad hoc Legal Audit Committee report. And I think we'll start by having maybe Troy Patton give us an update as the committee's review of the Taft and BKD invoices.
Okay, thanks, Mike. I'll be real quick here. Myself, Jake, and Scott met with Manny and went through the invoices. There were approximately about, and this is the Taft invoices, about $7,400 worth that were basically blacked out that we couldn't see. Manny has agreed to reduce their bill by that $7,400 for those items that we could not review. Those are the bills specific to the examination. So the Taft invoices at this point are good to pay less the $7,400. Okay. The BKD invoices, we're still reviewing those. We received information from BKD. I want to remind everyone that their job was limited to forensic audit, forensic accounting, or forensic review only. I think some of those things that we've been billed for are completely outside that scope. And I'm speaking with BKD after, I believe it's January 2nd, I think they return. But in any event, I've asked for a larger discount on those items as well. And we are not in agreement on those. So. Mike, that's about all. That's all I have.
Thank you. All right.
I wanted to add, something from the meeting that I ascertained was, I want the public to make sure that they understand. So for the overage that we essentially agreed to pay, a huge chunk of that was obviously the lawsuits, which for any of us would constitute really a failure of governance. So we had to pay extra with the lawsuits. Everyone's upset about that. We're moving forward. The council's made it clear in the future that, we will not be funding such things. But in addition to that, I don't want the public to think that was everything. So there was a huge portion, actually, that was additional legal work. Now, some of that happens just when there's change. And so with the change of city attorneys, some things were done differently, some things that were done a certain way in the past were reviewed, maybe brought up to code. I'm not really sure in that regard, but a lot of the work that we were billed for did not pertain to the lawsuits. Hopefully those are things that were improved per se and will not be there in the future, but we had some issues that needed resolved legally and so forth and so on, that needed, some loops needed closed up. And so a lot of what we paid was not budgeted because it was, I guess, I would say the implication would be that in changing attorneys, they did a lot of work in the first 3 to 6 months of 2021, according to them, to get us on the same page as a city with what they thought we needed to do. And then the third part would be consulting and overage on consulting. So obviously, there would be three different categories there, none of which really were budgeted. Obviously, we did not set into 2021 hoping for lawsuits. We, probably did not anticipate legal change, but the consultants, would be something that hopefully we did a better job this year budgeting moving forward. So I think it would be easy for the public to think the entire amount pertained to the lawsuits, so therefore, now that the lawsuits are over, our work's done. But we, as a council, worked through some of that, and I mean, from a budgeting prospect, we were over budget in legal and consulting, and all of those things need rectified for 2022. So I'm not sure if Troy had any other comments on that, or if Scott, they were there as well, but I just wanted to add that to Troy's comments.
Thank you, Jake. Scott, do you think?
No, I think they summarized it.
Okay. I think that probably to err on the safe side, what we should do is, this appropriation has already been set to pay the Taft legal expenses, and we probably should just vote to go ahead and pay all those legal expenses that have appeared on the claim docket, with the exception of the $7,400 reduction. Is that, can I have a motion?
Well, I don't know if have we been billed for that, or was that reduced? I know they were amicable in that.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, this is Manny again. I just want to add, I thank all of you for your taking the time out and your professionalism and back and forth and going through all those. And to answer your question, yes, the 7,400 has already been included in this current slate on the docket. But I agree with Mr. Johns, as as kind of reconciliation measure, you should have a motion to pay all previously held invoices.
Manny, this is Troy. You mean to encumber them, but not necessarily to pay them, right? Because the BKD ones we're still discussing, correct?
Yeah, so you can carve that out if that's something you don't want to pay. So you can say, to pay all previously held invoices except for whatever you want, Taft, BKD, that's up to you. Good
Yeah.
question.
Okay, thanks. Mike, Troy again here. I just want to make sure that, when we say pay all the invoices, I do not want to pay the BKD invoices until we have the opportunity to discuss those with them. So
yes, in that case, it'd be two motions then, Councilman. I would say, pay, encumber those. That'd be one motion, if that's your wish, if that's the council's wish, and then pay otherwise held invoices.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion, Mike, to encumber the amounts that are owed to BKD upon reconciliation with BKD, but in no event does that mean we owe that money or agree to pay that entire amount. So I know it's a long motion, but and then the second, well, I guess that's the first motion,
Second.
Okay. All right, the motion made by Troy Patton to encumber the BKD invoices until, as I understand, until we have reviewed those and reached an agreement with them.
correct.
And that motion has been seconded by Jake Gilbert. Bev, would you call the vote?
Scott Willis,
Yes.
Joe Edwards.
Yes.
Jake Gilbert,
Yes.
Cindy Spilgeric,
Yes.
Troy Patton,
Yes.
Mike Johns.
Yes?
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. Then,
Okay.
Hey, Mike,
then we should have a
Mike, Mike, this is Cindy.
Yeah,
On the encumber, I can encumber the money. I need to know what's the amount. I understand it will be for BKD because we have to know who it's going to, what we're encumbering it for, the vendor, and how much. So we could get together maybe later this week, and if you could give me an idea of how much you're talking so I can encumber that money, that'd be
okay.
great.
Troy, do you want to give her a number now, or?
Cindy, I don't have it now, but I can get it to you tomorrow, I believe.
Okay, that's fine. Is this on the 138 invoices that we got on Monday?
No,
Have looked
this-
through?
this is for the, I believe there's 2 invoices from BKD that have not been paid.
Okay, okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, now can I have a second motion that would be to go ahead and pay the Taft invoices with the exception of the $7,400 that has been negotiated with this Taft and the city?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Have a motion made by Jake Gilbert and seconded by Joe Edwards. Bev, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Okay, Troy Patton,
Yes.
Mike Johns,
Yes.
Joe Edwards,
Yes.
Scott Willis,
Yes.
Cindy Spillier,
Yes.
Jake Gilbert.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, now I've got one additional question. Manny, do you know, have all the Taft invoices for the year been received by the city?
Yes, sir. We have not yet finished December, so that will be sent as early in January as possible.
Okay, do you have a rough idea of how much that will be?
I don't, as I sit here, but I could probably provide it by the beginning of next week.
Okay, do we have to, or should we take a vote to basically encumber that amount along with what we expect to receive from the council's attorney? Is that?
That's up to
appropriate?
you. You don't have to. Usually how other communities have done it is they just keep the books open for a week or two, and then if there's money in the account, they can vote to pay those in the first claim in January. But that's up to you.
Okay,
Didn't we vote on that last meeting to have the clerk have that authority to have the books open and be able to pay the
Yeah.
December?
and is
Bills
that
in
okay
January.
with you?
So, the issue is this, your clerk treasurer can set the date, she told you the date last month. Whether Manny or I agree that that's a usual procedure or an unusual procedure or too early of a date or not, she can set the date, and she has. You know that you have December invoices. There's one of mine in the clerk's office, there's some coming from Taft. And so if the clerk treasurer is going to stand by her date, then I think it is proper to encumber the funds. Otherwise, you can approve them next year, or you can approve a new appropriation if you're all anxious to go through that process again next year, which I don't think you are. The simple way to deal with it and to be respectful of the clerk treasurer's choices are to encumber additional funds.
Makes sense to me. We might as well err on that side, I think. Manny, if you can get us just the clerk an idea of what those funds are later this week, beginning of next week. And then Ann, I think you said yours were about $6,000. And we will just let's take a vote to encumber the Taft funds and Ann's funds for this year. So, all right. So is that okay with you, Manny? Can you get that to us, to the clerk?
I shall do my best.
Thank you. Can we have a motion then to encumber those legal funds?
So moved.
Second it.
Motion made by Joe Edwards, seconded by Scott Willis. Bev, would you please call the roll on that?
Joe Edwards,
Yes.
Scott Willis,
Yes.
Cindy Spillier,
Yes.
Jake Gilbert,
Yes.
Mike Johns,
Yes.
Troy Patton.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Moving on, there are no new business items this evening. Do we have any guests or residents who would like to address the council? We do not.
No cards.
Cindy Gossard, do you have any comments this evening?
I just wanted to make one as far as the date, as far as to pay the invoices. I mean, we had gotten 138 invoices from Taft on Monday. Some of them were duplicates, and some of them were dated back as far as February and March. So that's part of the reason that we decided on the 21st. We always have a date, but the 21st, we gave them a little bit more time. But it causes a lot of issues when they hold bills for a year. So that was part of the reasoning behind the 21st, the date of the 21st. I just wanted to make that clear.
Thanks, Cindy.
Hey, Cindy, this is Troy Patton. I just have a quick question on that. In years past, I just want to make sure that, as I'm giving a little bit of thought, a little more thought, and I probably should have asked this before, are we, with the invoices that we're talking about for December that, we would receive in January, in years past, we never really encumbered those amounts, did we? I mean, we really just paid them and put them in in the year's budget in which they were received.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So essentially in 2021, we're kind of double dipping because we're pulling in invoices from 2020 into January of 21, as well as pushing these in here, which really kind of misses the mark for our overall budget. And again, it may be immaterial, but I just want to make sure that we're clear on that for everybody on city council, because I do believe we're double dipping. It's like we're throwing more expense into 2021, which would then open 2022's budget, which we've already approved, and we should possibly then offset that amount by which we are encumbering these amounts for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, if we would get all the invoices for 21 that are due in 21, we could get those paid easily enough, and you wouldn't have to encumber, because we don't get the books closed usually until like February, but we can't just keep making changes once we start the process.
Yeah,
Close the books.
I mean, my point was more for 2020 and 2020, we never really encumbered amounts, correct?
No.
Okay, sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to, I just had that
That's
question.
good. That's good information, Troy. Thank you.
Thanks.
Counselor comments, Jake, on the Oversight Committee? Yep.
Sure. First, just wanted to say that really enjoyed today. I brought my in-laws who were from out of town to Grand Junction, and there were 1 million kids playing out there on the park. So that was pretty cool to see. So I don't know if Joe or Scott want to add anything here. I just wanted to say this. I'm not going to get into a lot of specifics, but had a great meeting with the mayor and had a great meeting with the clerk treasurer and her office about the recommendations from the Baker-Tilly report. And we as a council are discussing, there's a lot of things that we feel maybe some of the recommendations are there and are available, but maybe fall back to the state level and are in place. Things like codes of conduct and some of our internal control framework and things like that. We're working on relationships. Just want the public to know we're working. If you want more details, you're welcome to reach out to me. I will not be here in person on the 10th, but we'll be joining via San Antonio. But I will, I'm always available by email or phone. And we are going to start meeting more regularly as an oversight committee to discuss the recommendations of the report and report that back to the council as a whole so that we're all on the same page. Thank you.
Troy, do you have any report from the Finance Committee?
No, we did not meet in December. We'll be back to our normal schedule in January, we believe.
Great, thank you. Cindy Spaljerek, do you have a report from the APC?
I do, from ARPA as well. So the APC met December 20th, and we forwarded a positive recommendation to council for the Urban Apples PUD. That will likely be on next month's agenda. It came with a 7-2 vote, positive, 2 against. Then we had the approval for the Casey Corner Development Plan and Primary Plat. That's that townhome project near Ditch and Casey. And we held a public hearing on a plat vacation for Style Right Meadows. That's near 203rd and Tomlinson. And that's something we don't see very often. So I think that one dated back from the late 1970s. And so that was kind of interesting to deal with. And I'll move on to ARPA. We did meet December 17th. We're having ongoing discussions about how to legally use these funds that we have, as well as the application process for nonprofits and businesses to be able to apply. So we will continue working on that while we wait for the Senate bill concerning the uses of these funds as well, and hopefully we'll see that early next year. But year to date, we have we've got $6,000 in consulting expenses for the ARPA with our legal help on that, and $209,914 for the public safety premium pay. And so that was what was expended this year out of that. And in addition, there's one more thing, the blessing box. About 2 years ago, Hannah Semler installed the box that is on the west side of City Hall. And it has a lot of canned goods and other things that people can contribute there for those in need. And Hannah did that as a gold award for her Girl Scouts project. But what she didn't do is find somebody to maintain it ongoing. And so luckily, the Girl Scout Brownie Troop 5513, it's led by Victoria Torres Lucero, they have agreed to take that over. And so that's 11 girls from 3 different schools that are in the troop. I'll quickly name them: Audrey, Olivia G, Zoe, Kylie, Megan, Emmy, Lucy, Olivia S, Kiva, and Sophia. They will be maintaining that along with their parents. And I wanted to say I really appreciate that because it does need help. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Cindy. I don't have much to say this evening. First of all, we had a comment by a resident last time who questioned what were the total costs for this city council's attorney. And I looked those costs up. The clerk treasurer tells me our attorney was budgeted at a total cost of $83,000 for this year, and we spent $39,060 is what we have on the books. So that's that one. My other thought for everybody tonight is this latest variant is roaming around out there. I've got several friends that have been down with it over the last couple weeks, so please be careful. Use your best judgment when attending, large groups of people and gatherings, and just be careful out there. That's it for this evening. Thank you.